Thank you everyone here, everyone online for joining us to celebrate our dad. Wow, he lived an incredible life, a full life. Like my uncle said, he did not regret anything, and yeah, so proud of him. Maybe didn't appreciate a lot about him until he was gone, because as a dad, sometimes he was mysterious because he loved everyone. It's impossible to love. Most of the people around me, I only saw them loving their immediate family, their wife, their kids. It's very rare to see someone love everyone. Anyway, we're here to celebrate. I was touched when my brother and my dear sister asked me to go first. I thought they respected me being the eldest. Later on, they confessed they wanted me to go first because they thought I was going to be boring. So it's easy to follow me. So here I am. I've got a few notes here. I want to quickly summarize Dad's life. Our uncle, his brother, did that, but I'm just going to go over it again. So most of you know he was born in Kerala. He lived in Chenganur, mostly Annadur. His heart was in Chenganur. That place, he loved Chenganur. His dream was to be there. After graduation, he went overseas. He went to Ethiopia in 1973. Employment took him there. He got posted in a small town, and he was the only expat, the only non-Ethiopian. It was a struggle. Remember, he was a young man who was just transplanted from Kerala in 1973. Of course, he couldn't reach out to his family. It took about 2 to 3 months to write a letter, or for the letter to reach his family, for them to respond is another 2 or 3 months. But he not only survived, he embraced global culture. He loved the people, he loved the food, everything about Ethiopia. And in 1974, the best thing happened to him. He met our mom and married her. That was the best thing, because she understood Dad. She appreciated Dad and supported him and loved him. Both his brothers talked about our mom. She was a real anchor. He could do everything he wanted because she fully supported him. The two of them had to leave Ethiopia. There was a civil war that broke out. Tough situation, but God was with them. They went to Nigeria in 1977. Typical of Dad, really embraced the local. A lot of great memories, even for us. He loved Nigeria, the people, and the culture. In 1987, both my mom and my dad, they moved from Nigeria. They went to the Middle East. Fujairah, the city of Fujairah was a small city. And they were there for another 8 to 9 years. They were closer to home this time around. And then from there, they moved to Canada in 1996. One of the unique things about their marriage was they were married 46 years, is that they either started and restarted lives in 4 different countries. It wasn't easy those days without ways to communicate with their family, friends. Except for Vancouver, where they had their brother. All the other countries, they had to do it themselves. This made their marriage stronger. Our uncle talked about our dad's dream of racing cars. As a kid, he dreamt to be a racing driver. He thought it must be easy to do, and when he got to adult life, he realized it's not that easy. You need to earn a living, you need to pay bills. Even though he didn't achieve that dream, he lived out the dream by speeding everywhere. He didn't understand he didn't understand the concept of speed limit. In Nigeria, in the Middle East, and here, he drove his car like a racing car driver that gave my mom and us and other fellow passengers a lot of anxiety. The great thing about it, we prayed a lot, so maybe he preached while he was driving. Throughout this speeding, he accumulated a lot of tickets, probably worth a down payment for a house, but at least he enjoyed it. The one thing about, I was close to my mom all along my life. I went to her for guidance. I will talk to her first before I talk anything to my dad. That was the dynamics. But there was one thing in my life that I would go to my dad. When I either make a mistake or I'm in an emergency situation, I always go to my dad. Even though I'm very close to my mom. For example, whenever I got into an accident, I would call my dad, not my mom, even though I'm closer to her. Because if I call my mom, she will lecture me for 5 minutes. There was a time I called her once, and she said, "You always speed, you're careless, I told you to drive carefully," and I'm in the middle of an accident. Whereas my dad was different in that sense. When I call him, he's calm, and he will always remind me why, when you bump into another car or hit another car, why it's not an accident. So it happens. You cannot be careful about it. And he always was positive about it. He would just calm me down and would never talk about it ever. So I could go to him when I made mistakes or when I was in an emergency. I want to talk about his personal journey with Christ. When my early memory, he did not pray much. He attended church once in a while. And then I saw his personal transformation. He had a very sincere and pure way of living out Christ. He didn't preach much, but he lived it out. I saw him going from not attending church regularly when he was a young adult or when we were very young, to praying for others regularly. And I saw the transformation. It was a beautiful transformation. And I've used that to encourage others that you don't transform, the transformation each of our lives are, go differently. So that encouraged me a lot. Talking about some of the things that I've learned from my dad, the one thing is, I saw him fight injustice. He always stood up. Every country, in any situation. Age slowed him down a little bit, but he still stood up and spoke up. He did stand up and speak up for the marginalized. He did stand up against bullies. I've seen it. And he also instilled in me and my siblings to help others, do the best with the resources and the constraints we have. Lift others up. It's in his world, we all win together. He didn't want to be ahead of anyone else. He wanted all of us to be moving forward. Whether it's picking a new immigrant at the airport or helping someone find a job. He did that, and I learned that from him. Dad, I promise you that I will continue the legacy. Not only will I continue the legacy, I will ensure that your grandkids will learn that. The other thing about our dad was the fact that he didn't accept always status quo. He questioned it to see what's the purpose. In management, there's always the 5 whys. Why should we do something, right? He did that very well. And even at the end, that was reflected on his decisions in life. And at the very end, after he passed away, our mom reminded us that his wish was to donate his body to the local medical school here in Vancouver, UBC. Unfortunately, by the time we remembered and acted upon it, it was late, so they couldn't accept it. In fact, last week, our mom received a letter from UBC thanking her for the offer of his body. And so, I was always proud of that. I was always proud of how he thought differently. He wanted to make sure there was a purpose of everything. Even at the end, he wanted to make sure his body could be of purpose, that they could use his body, and he wasn't just wasted away. That's how we looked at everything in life, and including himself. So the next thing that he had told our mom, which I wasn't aware, is the fact that he didn't want his body buried. He wanted to be cremated so that he felt that was the right thing. He didn't want to follow a tradition that he grew up in. So that's what's going to happen right after service. That's not going to happen today. That's a different process. So that's why normally in a typical Syrian Christian funeral service, right after this, we will probably go and bury. That's not going to happen tonight, and we'll have a viewing and we'll end. At this point, I'll pass it on to Prakash.
Oh, the end wasn't coming. As we were trying to prepare for this, trying to figure out who was going to go first, he said, I don't really have much to say, so I'll go with Sophie a couple minutes. And so, we tried to practice. We were like, okay, we'll put your notes together in a Google spreadsheet and share it, and get like 4 or 5 bullet points. Right? So now we know. Hard act to follow. So both of them tricked me, because just before I got up here, Mega is like, mine's going to be about 10 minutes. All this time they kept telling me, keep it 5 minutes, make sure it doesn't go over 5 minutes. So thank you guys. So I'll start off with one of my earliest memories of Dad. Growing up in Nigeria, on weekends, waking up to him listening to music. Every weekend, he would have some old Manila or Tamil songs playing, and I used to wake up to that, and I used to love it. Music was his passion. He loved singing and listening to music. I also remember him taking us everywhere he went, whether to the market or to see friends, or on the weekends to long trips, visiting family and friends in different cities, all of us getting together. The kids all running around and playing while the adults joined together, talking, mostly listening to Dad, or playing cards. And while visiting, while we were in India and while he was visiting us, he realized that we loved cricket. Mahesh and I, we lived in Errigal for a while, and we would play cricket, and we didn't have a lot of equipment. So when he realized that we loved playing cricket, he got us a full kit. Absolutely anything you can imagine we need for playing the game was there. Enough for us to start a cricket club, which we actually did. And we would play the rubber estate and damage the trees. And our auntie used to get really, really mad. And Dad would always come to our defense, and he would say, the trees will grow back, but the kids don't get their childhood back, so let them enjoy it. That was my dad, always supporting us to do whatever we wanted to do. He was my class teacher, but he never, ever scolded me or pushed me to get better grades. He let me do what I wanted, but he did not hesitate to punish me if I was misbehaving. And And anybody that studied in a school that he taught at knew how much of a disciplinarian he was. But as a student, I was also disadvantaged because he never wanted anybody to accuse him of being me being a favorite, so I always scored the worst marks. And this resulted in huge fights at home with mom, pulling out other students' papers, going comparison, saying, how did he get better marks than Nakash did? So, growing up, he taught us the value of being fair. And Dad, thank you for the values that he taught us, because to this day we live by it. As a young boy, he loved speeding. I think Uncle, you mentioned that. His bicycle, riding down, losing his lunch every day. Which leads me to a story, I think, which is appropriate. He once actually participated in an all-Kerala race. He signed up, showed up without a bike, realized he also needed covered shoes, so he didn't have a proper shoes. So he managed to borrow a racing bike and somebody else's sneakers. And as he was going round and round, every time he passed the boy that lent him the shoes, he would keep saying, "And the shoes are and the shoes are." Needless to say, he came second in the race, even among all the veteran racers or the guys that had practiced for him. That was our dad. Never let anything stop him from getting what he wanted. Never afraid to take a chance. Confident to overcome obstacles, yet charismatic enough to borrow a shoe. Dad was caring, compassionate, and generous. I'm sure by now you can pick up on the theme. You've heard this over and over again. He always put others before himself or the family. His love for his friends and cousins are well known. He was always ready to help. Doesn't matter. Whether it was in Nigeria for people seeking employment or needed to get something done at the ministry, he was always there. People getting into a car accident or needing any help, he was always willing, ready to drive thousands of kilometers to go help people. I have a fond memory of him allowing his mechanic.
Values and principles and everything we hold dear in our lives. To live with integrity, to treat with respect, to lead with courage, and to act with love. We know this much to be true. Anything that is kind and charitable and of service to others, anything in our lives that reflect core Christian values is from the way you lived your life. 1 Peter 4:10 says, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace. Dad was always faithful to use his talents and gifts to help others. What is it that we hope to leave our children? A big house? A bigger bank balance? We must hope to give them a sense of what it is to be a loving parent, a loyal friend, an engaged citizen. What do we want people to remember when we are no longer here? That we were more driven to succeed than anyone else? That we amassed wealth? Or that we stopped to ask if someone was struggling and needed help? That we took time to check in on someone who was sick or lonely? That we helped someone to have a roof over their head or their first job in a new country? That someone's life, even one person's, was better because you lived. And that's the way Dad lived his life, and that is his legacy to us as kids. Whenever people said I looked like Mom, she would say that's where the similarities end. Everything else is from her dad and her grandmother. It was no secret that I, the only daughter, was his favorite. Dad did things for me that he would have never done for the boys. He ran errands, he picked up things, he gave me rides. Even last year, when he came to visit me in Monaco, I asked him to find something at the Heathrow airport. And even though he was in a wheelchair because of his breathing problem, he still made sure they went and found what he needed. Now, as his favorite child, an in-house lawyer, Dad, I used to love to say that I was an in-house lawyer, it falls to me to say a few words to the family, To Micah, Nahum, Sariah, Maya, and Elijah. You are the joy and light Papa Chuck life. He was the happiest when he was with you. I hope each of you will live your lives in a way that honors Papa Chuck, that you will stand up for your principles, you will serve others, you will put Christ first, and you will live a life of integrity. To Rob Shilvantara, thank you for loving Dada and always being kind to him, even when we kids were hard on him. He loved you. He loved the way you fit in with our family instantly. You were never in-laws. You were his children. You knew that. And he would always pick your side over ours. To Mahesh, as the firstborn, you were the one who made him a father. From then on, he was Dada forever. Dad was always proud that you would try to do what is right, what is good, what is just. He was proud of the wonderful father you were, how you teach and discipline and guide your boys. Even in the times when you challenged him, he was secretly proud that his son stood up and fought for what he believed in. In that regard, you are just like him. To Akash, you've always been the kid about whom he had no complaints. Like him, you're the middle child, you're easygoing, social, and passionate about cars and driving. You are calm and collected, and not as knee-jerk in your reactions as your brother and me, something he always noted to Mom. Dad was so proud of the great leader and boss you are to your team. Your loyalty, hard work, and dedication is what he wanted of his children. Dad and Mom got married in 1974. They met for the first and only time 4 days before their wedding. As Dada's vacation days were over and he was returning to Ethiopia, their wedding was arranged in just 4 days. My mom, of course, had fallen in love with Dad's long hair and fashionable looks. He was a quintessential bad boy. His reputation preceded him. But much to her dismay, he turned up on the wedding day with his hair cut short and neat, based on strict instructions from our Amaji to clean up for the day. Oh, Mom, what can I say? You were his biggest fan and greatest supporter. For over 46 years, you were deeply devoted to him. As many people have said over the last few weeks, his family and friends, we salute you for your years of service and love and care of Dad. In sickness and in health, for better or for worse, you took those vows to heart. Even when life was not fair, you stood by him. We want you to know, Mommy, you did the best of everything for him. Even on the worst days, you were the best wife. You were the love of his life. You were his everything. Like Mahesh said, marrying you turned out to be the wisest decision of his life. It is said that the luckiest of men die young, as late as possible. My dad did just that. He lived a full life and left before he lost his independence and health, which I know he would have hated. Mark Twain said, a man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time. And that was Dada. Dada, we thank God for your beautiful life, for the years we had together, for the memories of a wonderful childhood. Dada, you were a gentleman of the finest order, a true Christian, a lifelong humanitarian. We look forward to seeing you one day on the shores of eternity. Till then, farewell, my darling Dada. We miss you terribly. And don't worry,